Thought I'd blown the marketplace away. There's a song on the wind and a joy in the trees. So God has arrived in the world, scattering the song in the silence of the night, and eternity utters a day. Eternity utters a day. There's a song on the wind and a joy in the tree. Shabbat has arrived in the world, scattering the song in the silence of the night, and eternity utters a day. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's wonderful to have you with us. Once again, joining us for our Kabbalat Shabbat service. We love to see our friends and members, our guests, join us together in this virtual minyan that we have now been doing for, 60 days or something like that. So kudos to all of us for the stamina to maintain this connection that we have, this Jewish engagement that we have, connecting to one another and to this place, even from afar, where we are able to do so safely. If you have not lit your candles yet, we invite you to do so with us. And if you have your big blue Mishkan Tefillah at home, we're at page 120 for those who have Mishkan Tefillah for travelers. We'll begin on page 224. So if you haven't yet lit your candles, please join us as we do it together. We'll light the candles together and then sing the blessing together. So let's do that first of all. we light these candles, we are reminded of the commandments to Shamor, V'Zachor, Shabbat. All those things have different meaning. What does it mean to guard and remember the Sabbath when we do so during stay-at-home orders? Are we still participating in some way to guard and to remember the Sabbath? I think we are. Just looks a little different. Let us say these blessings together, friends. Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitsham b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליקם של שבת. Shabbat Shalom, friends. If you haven't already, please feel free to type in and say hello to those who are watching together and wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom. I see some people already are doing so, which is wonderful to see. Please carry on and wish one another a Shabbat, a Sabbath of peace, a Shabbat Shalom, connecting and letting people know that we are here and we are together. So let's take a moment to do that. Let people know that we are here. We are together in this minyan. We wish one another Shabbat Shalom. Let us, as we have already brought light and warmth into our homes with our Shabbat candles, each one burning separately but together, we together welcome the Shabbat bride, these words of L'cha Dodi, welcome the Shabbat bride into our homes and into this sanctuary, each one of our individual places. We do so on page 138 in Siddur and Mishkan for Travelers. We jump to page 16, where we will sing together these words of L'cha Dodi, welcoming Shabbat as a virtual minyan. We do so together. Shabbat, the day Shabbat, Shamor v'Zachor, Merikorecha, Ishmiyan, El Hamilton, Adonai Kecha, Shorecha, Shemot Yifrech, Rise together. Welcome Shabbat bride together. Wonderful to see all of you wishing one another Shabbat Shalom and connecting with one another. I can speak certainly for the Harvey family. We miss all of you. Best we got recently was the annual meeting on Zoom, and I got to see all your wonderful faces. So I do miss that. I'm hoping to do a couple adult education sessions that will be on Zoom so we can interact a little bit more. So in the meantime, I appreciate the Shabbat Shaloms to one another. And don't forget, you've got those like and love buttons. So if you're feeling a prayer, or if you're really into it, don't be afraid to hit that like or love button to show everyone, hey, I'm feeling this. It's great. So with that in mind, we transition to the words of Baruch Hu, these words that are meant to get us prepared for prayer. So even though it's difficult for us to do it at home, perhaps more difficult than it would be here in the sanctuary, we get our mind in that zone of prayer with the words of Baruch Hu in Mishkan Tefillah Siddur, page 146, for travelers, page 24. And we ask ourselves, are we really present? Are we present here tonight with one another? sense, hopefully, of being awake, being prepared and present, we move to the words of roll into dark, which are a wonderful, beautiful expression of the words of Ma'ariv Aravim. We tell God, God is the creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Let's do that again. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Your ray on a light, will on me for shine. Will on me for shine. For shine. Into dark, into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Into dark, into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Ray on a light, will on me for shine. We come to the words of Ahavat Olam. We remind ourselves that God has shown love for the Jewish people by providing Torah, a way to live, and that the Jewish community shows love to God by following the mitzvot and living lives of ethics and tikkun olam. These words on page 150 for our Siddur, for the travelers, page 28, I believe. Words of Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam, Eretz Yisrael. Torah mitzvot, kibud mishpati, otanu King Adonai Eloheinu b'shofbenu Asiya b'chukecha v'nishma b'divrei Toratecha u'mitzotecha elhamai Ki elchayenu ve'orech yameinu Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Come to the words of Shema. For Mishkan, it is page 152. For our travelers, page 30. And it's hard to say Shema when we know that if we were not in the midst of this pandemic, we would be saying it together. And our voices would resound throughout this holy sanctuary. But for now, I know that your voices are heard and that we appreciate them coming from your houses, expressing these words, the watchword of our faith, our declaration of monotheism. Say these words of Shema together, not apart. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Elohim, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Elohim, Adonai, Adonai Echad. We move to the words of Micha Mocha, Shirat Hayam, the Song of the Sea, page 158, or for our travelers, page 36. And these words, who is like you, O God? They come from Exodus 15, when the Jews stand on the parted shores waiting for freedom on the other side. And for the last 60 days, we've been standing on the shores, waiting for them to part, waiting for us to cross over to safety so that we can be together again. It will happen, friends. We will reach the other side. When we do so, may we cry, Micha Mocha B'Yadim Adonai. Ze'eli anu v'amru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. This is our God. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Well, friends, it's 8 o'clock, which means it's Asher's bedtime. And hopefully you will be going to sleep. And the reason why I mentioned that, hopefully Noah is also still asleep, but these words of Hashkivenu and the tune specifically by a group of colleagues called Matovu has been what we have sung our children to sleep for so many years. These words of Hashkivenu, which can be found on page 160, or for the travelers, page 38, make a wonderful lullaby at the end of bedtime Shema. And so certainly give it a try if kids are not going to bed. It works for us. But it's also a beautiful message to send to your children as they go to bed. So these words, asking for God's shelter, asking for a sukkah shalom, a shelter of peace. Let that be our prayer tonight for not just all the children around the world, but we as well, that when we stay in our home and when we go out and when we come back, that we are protected by that sukkah shalom, that shelter of peace, making sure that we stay healthy and stay okay. So these words, which are just so beautiful, grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up, O guardian, to a life renewed. May that be our prayer each day. The words of Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai Elohim, Shalom, Shalom, Ve'aminu Shomrim, Fosalem Sukkah Shomrim, Fosalem Sukkah Shomrim. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harm, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake in morning's light. Teach us daily on the right. Oh, Adonai. Amen, amen. Amen, amen. Laila Tov to my children. Sleep well. And for the rest of us, friends, we carry on to the heart of our service the words of our tefillah. Page 164 in the Siddur, or for our travelers, page 130. And each time when we come to the tefillah, or Amidah, I always think it important to mention these words that come from Psalm 51:17. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tfilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Each time I like to give a little reminder that sometimes these words are necessary for us. Sometimes we don't know the right words to pray. Whatever's going on in our lives or in the world, we're not sure that we have the strength. We're not sure if we have the stamina. We're not sure if we have the ability to pray. And so we ask for God's help during this time, these hard times. When emotionally we might not be there. We come to the Amidah and we're not quite ready. Well, as it happens, our ancestors felt that way too. And so at least the psalmist did and said, sometimes I need a hand. Open up my lips so that I can begin to praise you and I can begin to declare God's glory and God's praise. It's okay to need help to do that. And our psalmist makes that clear. So as we begin this Amidah tonight, we hope that you have the strength to do it and the wherewithal to pray with us. But if not, it's okay to ask God for a little bit of help. Adonai sifatai ufi yagid tfilatecha. Adonai sifatai ufi yagid tfilatecha. Let us turn the page and bless God for protection of the ancestors. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ariel HaGadol HaGibor v'Chanokah Elyon Omer Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Yaakov V'Zocher Hasdei Avot V'Imahot U'Mevii Gula Lifnei Bneihem Leman Shemo B'Yahava Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Be'ezrat Sarah. As we turn the page, we bless God's strength and God's power. So Turn the page once more and we bless God's holiness. Kadosh, V'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kedoshim B'Chol Yom Yalalu Chasera, Baruch Atah Adonai, Amelech HaKadosh. Continue with our tefillah and ask God for Shalom Rav. It's a very important prayer these days. We are not looking just for peace these days, but we are in need of abundant peace in this world. We need Shalom Rav, not just to Israel, but to all of humanity. And we say these words, we sing these words of Shalom Rav, knowing that we sing it and pray for it, not just for the Jewish people, but for all across the world, that all of us may be blessed with peace in the coming days. Sing together, page 148 for our travelers, 178 for the Siddur. Shalom Raham, V'Yisrael Hasidim Le'olam. Shalom Raham, V'Yisrael Hasidim Le'olam. Ki atah melech hador, le'kol hashalom. Ki atah melech hador, le'kol hashalom. Shalom Raham, V'Yisrael Hasidim Le'olam. Shalom Raham, V'Yisrael Hasidim Le'olam. B'tov b'necha levaret et alfa Yisrael. B'chol lev v'chol shabbat yesh lo melech rach. Shalom Raham, V'Yisrael Hasidim Le'olam. Shalom Raham, V'Yisrael Hasidim Le'olam. Hasidim Le'olam. Hasidim Le'olam. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamborech et Amo Yisrael Shalom. And with these words about peace in our minds, we think of a different kind of peace that people are in need of. Think of those who are in need of kind of peace in their bodies, in their spirits, and their souls, those who are in need of healing, refuah shlema, a complete healing, refuat hanefesh, refuat haguf, complete healing of the soul and the body together. And there are so many in this world who are in need of all kinds of healing. Those who are suffering perhaps from COVID-19, those who know those who are suffering from COVID-19, those who have lost loves to COVID-19, and all those others, all those who are experiencing other kinds of pain during this pandemic, physical, emotional, spiritual, mental. Here at Temple Israel, we keep in special mind Jason Beckner, Chuck Bogart, Eileen Goss, Barry Herschel, Harriet Morrison, Sandy Perlman, and Sharon Tallis. To those names, I invite you to add a few more via Facebook or YouTube. Type in a name if you feel comfortable of someone who you are thinking of who is in need of healing tonight. And we will add them to our prayers as we say the words of Misha Berach. Misha Berach will be on page 371 for our Siddur, page 203 for Mishkan for travelers. So please feel free to say some names of those you are thinking of, those who we know who are in pain, those who are in need of healing tonight. So please feel free to add them so that we can offer them as well, Rafut HaNefesh, Rafut HaGuf, a complete renewal of body and spirit. All those in need. A source of strength to bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing. Let us say Amen. We sure can make it wrong. We know who to take. Therefore, thou wilt take. Bless those in need of healing with refuah, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit. Let us say, Amen. Well, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. All who have been with us since the beginning and those who have joined us. Hello. So this week's Parsha, it's another double, Bahar B'Chukotay. It, in the beginning of Behar, discusses the biblical concepts of the sabbatical year and the Jubilee. So Leviticus 25 begins with these words. Adonai spoke to Moses on Sinai, speak to the Israelite and say to them, when you enter the land that I assign you, the land shall observe a Sabbath of Adonai. 6 years you may sow your field, and 6 years you may prune your vineyard and gather it in your yield. But in the 7th year, the land shall have a Sabbath of complete rest, a Sabbath of Adonai. You shall not sow your field or prune your vineyard. You shall not reap the aftergrowth of your harvest or gather the grapes of your untrimmed vines. It shall be a year of complete rest for the land. but you may eat whatever the land during its Sabbath will produce. You, your male and female, the hired and bound laborers who live with you, and your cattle and the beasts in your land may eat all its yield. So as the text shows, the seventh year in a continuous cycle of years is known as Shemitah, the sabbatical year, the Sabbath of years, so to speak. And then the text goes on to explain another kind of sabbatical year, the Jubilee or Yovel. Oh, hang on one second. Not sure why we had a little. Okay, trying to reconnect. Poor wireless connection. Hang on, folks. 1 second. Should be a fine wireless connection. Okay, well, we'll try our best. Sorry about that, friends. Okay, so we were talking about Shemitah, but the text talks about Jubilee or Yovel. It says, you shall count off 7 weeks of years, 7 times 7 years, so that the period of 7 weeks of years gives you a total of 49 years. Then you shall sound the horn loud in the 7th month on the 10th day of the month, the Day of Atonement. You shall have the horn sounded throughout your land, and you shall hallow the 50th year. You shall proclaim release throughout the land for all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you. Each of you shall return to his holding, and each of you shall return to his family. That 50th year shall be a jubilee for you. You shall not sow, neither shall you reap the aftergrowth or harvest the untrimmed vines, for it is jubilee. It shall be holy to you. You may only eat the growth direct from the field. So both of these concepts, Shemitah and Yovel, Jubilee, have to do with what is known as the principles of land tenure. And while on the surface, these laws seem to deal with, as Baruch Levine explains, the permanent rights of landowners and the legalities of sale and mortgaging of land, there is also a natural, non-financial aspect to these laws. Indeed, one can even suggest that these laws are environmental in nature. With the bulk of Judaism's holidays originating from agriculture, of how to tend to the land and the repercussions of not doing so properly, the Levitical priests, it's safe to assume that the authors of these priestly texts had a firm understanding of agriculture and the land. Levitical priests understood that creation itself ended with a day of rest, the Sabbath, as is taught in the first chapters of Genesis. And therefore, everything deserves a rest. And as we just read, even the land. Well, we're not certain if the priests knew about soil science and that when land is over-farmed, it cannot produce any longer. There are hints in the text that they had a pretty solid understanding that you simply can't force production on land. The solution to the problem of land being overworked was the Shemitah and the Jubilee, right? The 7th year, and then 7 cycles of 7 years, crowned with a year of rest for not only the farmers, but for the land itself. So, what does this have to do with today? So, interestingly, it's assumed that the Jubilee year was actually not practiced in biblical times, but it was probably more of an ideal. But today, we can see the desperate need for such a universal rest. We need not look far to see what we've done to our land, overpaved, overtreated, unable to go through the natural cycles of growth. Mismanagement of land becomes particularly apparent after natural disasters like fires, flooding, and hurricanes. When land that is overused or wrongly used becomes, during this disaster, a major human hazard. We find ourselves at an interesting crossroads. The world faces a pandemic. For weeks and months, we were forced to rest, so to speak. It may not have felt like a rest while you supported your children in online learning while also juggling work from home, but to the land, it was rest indeed. The canals in Venice went from murky to clear. Each of the Himalayan peaks were visible. The clouds of pollution lifted. Animals are finding more overgrowth, an abundance of natural food sources once destroyed or removed by townships and cities. There is, of course, quite literal reason for the pandemic. Though scientists have not determined its actual origin as of yet, it was without question due to human behavior. But there is, on the other hand, a metaphor for this pandemic. Indeed, another way we can think about it is that the earth, in need of its own jubilee, demanded that we rest as a result of this pandemic. I certainly don't wish to diminish the terrors of the disease, which takes the lives of our friends and families and puts us all at risk. But I'd like us to look outside and see perhaps another lesson that we can learn from this pandemic. We've already learned so many about healthcare, work, government, and freedom. But what about Shemitah and Jubilee? What does it mean for ourselves, our country, our world, to have to collectively stop? And when we collectively stop, how do we rebuild? While it may have been impossible to be truly prepared for a pandemic such as this, it goes without question that as a collective, the world was woefully unprepared. Could part of the lack of preparation be due to how overworked, overstressed we all are? Too much focus on money and production and not enough on health and rest? The Torah gives us blueprints for a balance in this world that we desperately need. Is a full year of rest as the priest intended possible? Most likely not. Not even in their time. But it should provide us perhaps with some ideas to cultivate a different way to live our lives, providing proper rest not only for ourselves, but for our earth. Friends, may we come out of this disaster having learned some new difficult lessons, and may it change the course of human history for the better. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may that be God's will. Shabbat Shalom. Please take a few moments of silent prayer, reflection, or meditation, and we will meet back on page 180 for the Siddur, 152 for Mishkan for Travelers, with the words of Yehi Ratzon. For all these prayers that we just said, as well as the prayers in our hearts, we ask God for them to be acceptable. That all the things that we pray may be acceptable in God's eyes. So let's pray silently, and we'll end with a prayer, Yehi Ratzon, of that silent prayer. Please pray for a moment. Yehi Ratzon. We come to the concluding aspects of our service. Turn to page 586 in our Sidorim, page 214 for our Mishkan for Travelers. Let us now praise the Sovereign of the universe and proclaim the greatness of the Creator, who spread out the heavens and established the earth, whose glory is revealed in the heavens above, and whose greatness is manifest throughout the world. You are our God, there is none else. Therefore we bow in awe and thanksgiving before the one who is sovereign over all, the Holy and Blessed One. V'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim livnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Thus it has been said, Adonai will be sovereign over all the earth. On that day, Adonai will be one, and God's name will be one. V'ne'emar v'chaya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz v'yom hahu yihyeh Adonai echad Adonai u'shemo echad. Well, dear friends, at the end of each one of our services, no matter what we are feeling, whether it be joy or connection to the divine, wherever we are, it's important that we end these evenings, these Shabbats, just as we end every service, thinking of those who have come before us, those who we have lost in recent days or in years past at this season. Honor their memories, and we think of them, and we think of those who are in need of comfort as they mourn. We are observing Shloshim, 30 days of mourning for Paul Bangura. And, our yahrzeit list, those who are remembered perpetually at this time. Betty Bauer, Benjamin Cohen, Joseph Herman, Clarissa Bobrecker, Edna Cohen, Delphine Herschel, Beverly Weiser, Nora Tabani, and Aaron Kempler. To those names, we add any other names you have of those who have died in recent days or years past at this season. Please feel free to type in those names so that we can give you comfort and honor them as we say our Kaddish together. And as you are bringing those names, we keep in mind, of course, all those who have no one to say Kaddish for them, the 6 million who died in the Shoah, and those who died defending this country and the state of Israel. We also think, of course, of those who have died from COVID-19 and those health workers who have died on the front lines defending us against this disease. We honor their memories as well. In our Sidorim, page 598, And for the travelers, page 221. We say these words of Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish, to honor those who have come before us, honor their memories, and to give comfort to those in mourning. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'vyomechon, v'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei almayim. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kudesha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, ta'amiran v'yalma v'imru amen. Yehei shalom araba min shamaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mrama. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who brings peace to the high places bring peace to over all who are in mourning and over all of humanity, as we say together, amen. Zikrona livracha. So before we depart tonight, before I send you out to enjoy hopefully 24 hours of rest and peace, a few announcements. We are going to be continuing virtual worship for the foreseeable future, including next week, Saturday, May 23rd at 10 a.m. Right here, same bad time, same bad channel, 10 a.m. on Saturday. A reminder to our friends, our office is closed, so we don't want to see a lot of traffic going back in and out. So if you do have to come in for something, please call ahead and let us know. Please make sure you're wearing masks and gloves for coming in as well. We really want to make sure that this is still a safe place for us to be in, for our employees to work. If you still are in need of Mishkan Tefillah for Travelers, please send us an email and we will get you that book. You can come in safely and retrieve it. So just email us, email Kim or myself, and we'll make sure we get you that book. And we thank you for a $10 donation for renting Mishkan Tefillah for Travelers. The 8th episode of Torah from a Distance is up. I've completed that little mini-series of Messianism in Judaism. We're going to move on next week to something different, but the 8th episode is up, so please feel free to watch. You can see that on our YouTube channel, our website, and on Facebook. So we are not sure if the Memorial Day cemetery event will occur with the American Legion. We're a little worried about their health. We're not sure if they're going to be traveling with the bus and everything like that. But our plan is, as always, to honor them and honor all those who have fallen for our country, or those who have fought for our freedom, on Monday, May 25th at 9:30 a.m. at our historic cemetery. If you do plan on joining us, please maintain CDC guidelines and 6 feet social distancing to make sure that everyone who returns from that wonderful event healthy. Our Shavuot study session, very excited about it. Thursday, May 28th at 7 p.m. via Zoom, so we will see all your wonderful faces. This will also be part of what is known as the Small Congregations Leil Shavuot study session, which means that small congregations around the country are all going to post these Zoom events from rabbis across the country, Jews across the country, and people can choose which ones they want to go to. So you'll see on our Facebook page, and we'll have something sent out to you as well, lists of other things that you can do. You can register for it to make sure they know you're legit. And so after our session, which I hope you'll join us for, there's sessions that go on up until 6 a.m. the next morning. The session does require a password, so to make sure that we don't get any Zoom bombers and that sort of stuff. So when you register for it through the Leil Tikkun, you can get the password then, or you can just contact me and I will let you know the password. so that you can get onto the Zoom study session. And then finally, friends, we do miss your voices, so please reach out with Voices from Quarantine. We know that some of you can feel isolated or not connected, so please write us a little paragraph, a couple sentences, checking in, letting us know what's new with you, how people are feeling, how things are going. We will publish it in Thursday reminders and our monthly reminders so that we can keep track and make sure that we are still having that conversation. So don't be shy. Let us know what's going on in your life. There's still mitzvahs and simchas that you can tell us about, so we want to know about them. So with that, friends, we wish you a Shabbat of peace, a Shabbat shalom, 24 hours of rest and peace. May that be yours. And we look forward to seeing you next week. So Shabbat shalom, everyone. And again, we're so grateful that all of you have joined us this evening. Shabbat shalom.